All right. Once again, we're talking with Darren Rademaker from the Tide. But also now he's going. He just sorry. He just informed us that he's sort of segueing into a more mature position in this world. He's going to go solo, sort of.
Yes.
Okay. So, anyways, how much of this record do you have recorded?
I recorded enough, and I've got 5 other ones at Rob's, and I'm going to go back into Rob's anytime now. I've got my other idea of this album is I have all the backing vocals are going to be done by females.
Cool.
And I've got all these different girl singers, and I'm waiting for this girl from New York that we've written some songs together. We were going to have our own project, but I decided just to put it on this album. Like Scott Walker, on the One Till the Band Comes In album, how he has that girl singing one song.
Sure.
And you've done that before.
Do it all the time, man. I have guys sing my own songs too.
Yeah.
I get to enjoy it as it's a whole nother level.
This is the first. This will be the song is just so good. This would be the first time that I gave. So she wrote the lyrics. This would be the first time I gave somebody a co-writing credit on the Tide. All the songs, every song on the 3 Tide albums have been written by me so far.
Of course. Well,
I'm gonna give her the co-writing. It's cool. And then now, when we've been playing live, I have my girlfriend singing with me. So I'm just somebody. There's this female backing vocal thing, and I've noticed it was just kind of like a different thing, taking it away from being so Beach Boysy and more like 60s-y, but without being 60s, of course.
Sure, yeah, because we don't need any of that. We're too smart for that retro shit.
Well, it's funny now because it's got to the point, like you said, we've been around for a while, and this girl, I think you know her, Cece Sheffield. She's put out some kind of techno record, and it's called Golden Grime. And I go, well, I had a record called Grime's Golden, and I sent her a link for that, and she read the review of the album. And I talked about how young bands in California, like Waves and whatever, all these bands in California, Best Coast, Waves, they all have this beachy theme and this whatever. And this guy in the review said, well, these guys were doing it in the 90s.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, you can kind of get mad about that, but that's the exact same thing that we were doing. We were copying the 60s and the 70s. I saw an interview with Bruce Springsteen the other day. He goes, the problem was in the 70s, we were copying music from the 60s and it was too close. It'd be like now, nobody's copying music from 99. They are, kind of, but mostly people are going back to the 80s at least. But it's funny to think about rock and roll. It's really only been around since the 50s, so they were copying it closer. Even we were copying it closer. But now it's like you have more decades to steal from.
Well, to me, I got a different take because, the whole 1967 approach to music where you could have castanets like Phil Spector or any of that crap.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with the possibilities. So, Once I figured out that you didn't have to be Robert Plant because of the punk thing, then I was just then my hopes of being like a scientist or something went right out the window because I caught the bug.
In the 70s, just before punk came along, it's like, well, I'm not gonna. Not that I don't like some. Yes, it's like not as much, or whatever. But it's like I can't play this, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no desire to play that, really. It's like I feel like I had to practice too much to be like all this crap. And I mean, that's the one thing about punk. And then I think kind of the same for you, knowing the taste that you have. We had a brief period of punk, me and my brother, but then once post-punk was the thing that really stuck.
Off to the races.
Because the Bunnymen, it's really, like I said, because of Julian Cope, I started liking Scott Walker. I consider Bob Dylan old people's music. I don't want to listen to that shit. And then Bunnymen covered "It's All Over Now, Baby Blue," and I was like, "Oh, this is all right." And the same thing, they covered the Doors, and it's like I don't listen to the Doors. It's like hippie music, man. And it's like then I got into the Doors through the back door,
Yeah, that's the power of that's the power of that whole thing.
Well, now you meet kids that are 20 years. I have a lot of friends that are in their early 20s, and some of them I'll be like, man. How do you have an Orange Juice record? Is it from your dad? No, I just heard this one day, on the internet or whatever. It's I Phelps. They're more popular than ever.
A lot of this stuff never even had a chance in the first place because it was never marketed right and just we're not the whole time that Alan McGee was in the business or anything. We're not in the 60s where you could just be Motown and just toss it into the mix.
Yeah.
So. A lot of that stuff hasn't even happened yet. And I keep telling people, when I recorded our first real record, or started to try, Graham Bonner from Swerve Driver came in and he said, you know, Anton, this type of music is dead in the doornail in the UK. I said, you're a fucking idiot. You know, basically, you're really not too bright because, man, people, you go to Starbucks and everybody thinks that Mozart and Bach lived on the same block. It doesn't mean, it doesn't even matter the time difference between the two. Doesn't matter to anything if you're into classical. You're just like continuity. Right when Bach starts setting the Baroque down, you know. So
it doesn't even like it never. It just blows my mind, you know. Growing up in Florida, when you know all this music came around, like all the post punk and that sort of thing that I listened to, but right before I moved out here. I would have never thought in a million years that you would go into Urban Outfitters and buy a tie-dye Joy Division shirt.
Man, you know? Darren, when I got my first like Moogs and stuff, you know, early 80s, everybody called me faggot just because I was like listening and learning about programming or whatever. Yeah. I never even thought keyboards were going to go because the hostility level of just, you know, who's Visage, man? They ripped off my mom's clothes and makeup or something. All that stuff, you know, just the attitude. I never even saw any of that coming. That's why I switched to folk music. I was like, fuck, I can't even show my face in public with a Roland or something. I'm gonna get killed.
I liked it all. We liked it all.
Yeah.
We were mad into I was mad into like Spandau Ballet's first album was good. Second album was really good. I like Soft Cell. Soft Cell was kind of cool because they were like kind of like more of a, even though there wasn't sampling going on, there seemed like a lot of they were like a blueprint for so many bands now, or like even like pop music.
At the bottom line, you know, there's these entertainers, like there's something about the gay experience that a lot of people with any kind of like heart can really relate to. When there's a torch singer, it doesn't matter if it's Dusty or Mark Allman. Those feelings, you know, they just transcend, and that's been true in the business for a long time, man. There's people, you feel it. You know, he's just a rent boy, just wailing. Well, it's true, you know what I mean?
That's true.
But
there's some versions of him. Like I even know some kids out here, in San Francisco, that like I suspect that you might be a rent boy. I still like your music, man. It's pretty funny.
I know, it's just weird, but you know, like, cause I was explaining to somebody on the show the other day, like why I started volunteering for Project Open Hand and all the gay rights with the medical marijuana in San Francisco. I was like, everybody that ever saw me with a girl, the first thing out of their mouth is like fucking faggot because they wanted to screw her and I was there or something. You know, so automatically I was on the other guy's team, 100%, because I just can't stand that kind of behavior. So, you know, we were all lumped together no matter what, just because we were thinking about how we wanted to be free. So, same team. But
in Florida, like everywhere you get called faggot or diva, like everywhere you go. I said my whole life, with my gay friends, I say my whole life I've been oppressed and been without any of the benefits.
But there's so much stuff like that. Like we could get all weird, but you know, just being white and having blue eyes, and it's the same deal over and over again. It just weird stuff. Or being American, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like people are just. We're trying
to change it in surfing. Surfing's an area where still it's very manly. Like either you got the older guys who are like a family man, Orange County. You know, I have a construction business and I surf, and then you got the younger guys that are just like jocks with tattoos and they're just like whatever. So like there's this small faction, you know, like we're trying to just say it's like, you know, it's okay. There was like even like gay surfer like websites now.
Sure.
We're just like trying to say it's like this is another area where that needs to be like this needs to be okay here too.
There's no place for it. You know, it's just like breathing air. It's like, come on, you people. All that stuff's such a non-issue. There's so much else going on, man. You know, in the world, they always drag all this weird stuff that doesn't amount to a hill of beans, you know, into the mix. It's so weird.
It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like just anything that I like. There's like a general in America. I mean, you haven't been here, but like the side of town that you used to live in. It just, you know, there's a lot of change. I'm always welcome to change and whatever, but it just feels like it's not a hopelessness, but there's kind of a darkness going on right now. I don't know, it's government. I don't know what it is, but it's a money issue. The music scene is all about like, oh, your band's on a blog, so everybody goes to the Echoplex and it sells out. But your band isn't really that good. It's ridiculous. It's really funny how, and I see some of my friends' bands that are very good. They get a little bit of notoriety, but not as much as the other bands. And it's like you kind of wonder sometimes, like, why bother even putting out another record? But you just keep on doing it.
I'm totally in a different spot. I'm trying to get like people that are like McGee and stuff to get a little bit, even if it's peripheral. Like if we're just sort of like, pulling the strings for other guys that really have this ambition or something, because he's not interested in being. I know it's the interwebs. Don't worry about it. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but it's cutting out.
Okay, well I'm just gonna pretend like it isn't for a second and see what happens.
Cool. I got you now. I got you.
Okay, so I'm trying to convince these guys that made all this stuff happen that they should be involved in the mix a little bit and not just say fuck it, the world's changed and it's weird now. We should just pretend like it hasn't, and just, even if we're connecting people together, we should. Here's the point that I'm about to make to McGee. See what Simon Cowell's done with those publishing guys. He's made the game. See, nobody gives a rat's ass about Air Supply, but I'll be damned if they were on the same publishing company, one of those kids would be covering it. So it puts it back in the mix, and they've got the one publishing company or all of them in line to do it this way, because what the general opinion in the business is there's more than enough shit to distract you. If you want to listen to music, we've got a world of it. So they're not interested in reinventing the wheel or seeing what happens next. They're like, these kids don't care. Let's just program in and go for the percentages. We're not going to take any chances with art or anything. And then there's the whole, so there's that side of it. And also, the governments around the world are not interested in a bunch of young people in this climate getting together for any reason and seeing eye to eye. So they don't want any big festivals. And if you look at the radio and TV and you go, I go all over the world, I'm really hyper aware of all this shit. There's nothing anywhere. That's not a mistake, because you could do way more now than you ever could. It's the way that everybody wants it. That's the only reason why I'm doing this right now. Because, like, I could say some wacky stuff that you don't agree with or whatever, but as long as I can say this, man, you know that there's still a channel open. Because I'm going to say whatever I think, know. So it's good. That's why people have to support this, not by watching it, but just the idea. It's because as long as I can play every kind of music and comment on the news and talk with people about whatever we want. That's the only reason why I didn't, go with Pepsi to do this thing. It fell through for a couple reasons, but the main thing is they would just go, they market stuff behind the scenes. They're doing these blogs. There's some corporation behind all that stuff. Every single one of them,
Oh yeah.
There's no like real magazines. There's just we're back to little tiny fanzines and just the thing, Like people don't understand that Pitchfork Media is Merge Records or whatever. They don't understand that Merge doesn't want to pay other guys for ads, so they just made it's the same price to make their own magazine, and they just lock everybody else out unless they pay really big money.
It's 100%. It's 100% crap. Those kind of music blogs, Pitchfork in particular, I don't care if it like creams me, but I think it's lame.
For the life of me, Darren, I got to interrupt you because we're so on the same page. But for the life of me, man, in my mind, there's no reason why Arcade Fire scored and you didn't. It's just some bullshit because those guys are. If I ever thought you guys were fluff, those guys are just nothing. And I'm not saying you guys were fluff or whatever, but I'm just saying like, it just boggles the mind.
It's funny how but really those, like I was saying about some of my friends, I know, this band in LA and this band in LA, and one gets more blogged about, but the other one's actually better. And it's just funny because there's this herd mentality of like girls, I don't mean just women,
right.
There's guys too, at work on their computers, and they just check these blogs every day to find out what the latest thing, and I see them and their friends on Facebook, hey, we're at this concert. It's like, where did you find out about, you're just like a blog rocker. Like you don't, before we had to like, hey, my friend came over to my house with a box of records. He played me this. It's amazing. I searched for a couple weeks for it.
Yeah.
And now it's great. You can go on the internet and we can pretty much find anything we want. I kind of, every once in a while, I'll look for a song and it's not on YouTube or I can't find it, and I'm kind of amazed. And then other times it's like, a year ago I looked for this on YouTube. It wasn't there, but now it is. Somebody put it up.
Yeah.
And it's fun because you can, I don't think it matters whether it's the first time you listen to a song or the millionth time you listen to a song. You can enjoy it the same. Elitism is stupid.
Yeah.
But when it comes to those blogs, like in something like Pitchfork, I mean, they literally contacted our record company and us and said, you know what, we gave pretty good reviews to The Tide, and you should take out some ads for your new album because we're going to give it a good review. And you know what, the record company, Rough Tate, took out the ads. You know what, they gave it a shit review. It wasn't a shit review, it was just an okay
Just marketing. You know when I got that Boardwalk Empire thing,
yeah.
Variety hit me up and they said, we're doing a whole HBO network of the decade, show of the decade, all this stuff. Do you want to get an ad? And I wrote them back and I'm like, you know, it's no secret about my opinion of the business, you know. It's like it's a shithole with a bunch of bones and detritus, but they also make entertainment sometimes. You know, it's basically a cesspit, but they also release songs and movies sometimes. But so I said I have no experience. You know, nobody even asked me a question when Dig won Sunset, and now that I just scored the biggest thing ever from Martin Scorsese, nobody in the whole media has got a peep about it. And if it was anybody else on the planet, they would have just been, oh yeah, look at Anton's kicking ass again. You know.
I was wondering about that because I always have this theory, like, if you're, you know, like, one thing I like about Tom Petty and Neil Young is they don't sell their songs to commercials or shows or that much, because unless it's something they really, really like, because they don't need the money.
Well, they don't own them. The first thing is, man, those guys don't own the publishing. They don't have the choice. Nobody's asking, and the price is too high. Neil Young, man, his manager was David Geffen. He has the biggest, he's as tied in as anybody else. He just had an angle that when they said they weren't interested in doing another one of his records, he has like 50 projects. So he just kept recording and collecting money. So he's got a different angle. But the cool thing about this is, you know, those Scorsese, the HBO people, or whoever, the Scorsese team and all those guys, they just asked me what I felt about it. What we're talking about right now, you know, the cheese out factor. And I just said, thank you. I got the email. That's all I just said.
It's just awesome because I've actually known people that, like, I know, like, maybe don't particularly like Brian Jonestown or whatever, and they'll say, like, man, that song's really good in the beginning. I had no idea it was Brian Jonestown. See, there's another way that something like that really works well, you know. But
I could give a hoot about, you know, the Johnny Come Latelys or any of that stuff. I'm more interested in if people see the deeper thing that I was trying to lay down, which is like, man, I don't need your fucking permission to do what I want, and if you like it, fine. This doesn't even have to be perfect because, you know, I saw it coming a long time ago because I really like the Phil Spector style recordings. I like the way Sgt. Pepper is recorded, and I watched how they just like turned it into some other thing with recording. So I don't give a hoot that everybody's record in the world sounds fucking brilliant, but it's just shitty ideas and no soul. It's just safe enough to be on the radio. So I never cared about that. I was more interested because I love, you know, I love all the old stuff. I like Woody Guthrie, and he didn't have no Pro Tools. So it doesn't matter to me. It's just like if you can feel it, you know, you can identify. And it's the same thing when I listen to Chinese music or Arabic music that I like. It's like I don't need to know what it's saying or how it's recorded. If I like it, I like it.
Exactly. I was watching La Bamba for like 5 minutes the other day, and there's a part where he goes down to the basement of Delphi Records, and he's like, "This is your recording studio. This is just an office."
Yeah.
And I thought that was really funny because nowadays, you know, I've recorded a song on GarageBand on my computer, my 5-year-old computer, with this chick, and I tried to re-record it in Brooklyn with Mick Marsh, and I tried to re-record it out here with Rob, and I realized this is the best sounding the song's going to be. I'm just going to release it off the computer, you know. It's like,
make that fucking leap. Make that leap.
It's the vibe. Yeah, it's the vibe that you can't. It's the vibe. It's not the quality. It's the vibe.
See, but we're smart too, man. You got to remember theater. When theater's just really kicking ass, you just forget all about that. It's just some goofy actors, you know, with their clumsiness. You just get all wrapped up in the whole thing because, you know, it's just moving. It's called the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what we're going with all of it. Because a lot of things sound really hokey. I know from everything that Rick Parker's ever put his fingers on that he puts that shit right on a grid, and it all just sucks. You know? It's just not as good as anything else that you just approach it a different way. Like, this is the best I can do, instead of like, I'm not even going to do anything until it's perfect without ever thinking about what you're actually recording. Like, is that worth it?
So many guys, so many jokers out here have studios. and they have like a lot of equipment, and I recorded this and I recorded that. But you know what? What record has actually come out of your studio that's like gone out and touched people? You know, it's like the one thing that say, I always have a thing to say. It's like it's better to be like, you know, the 1990s had a song called "Cult Status Keeps Me Alive." It's better to be like kind of a never was than a half has been. Like if you're like the singer from the Wonder Stuff or Ned's Atomic Best Friend, and here's my new record, no one really cares. But if you've just always been sort of like just kind of going along, floating along, selling 20,000 records, whatever, on the grid, people tend to listen to it a little bit more, or you just have your fans that you make your records for, not your fans.
Well, now it's like really, there's a whole nother angle to it, man. All of my peers, I fared so much better by being a dick to the business like I did. Look, Darren, not only do I own all the shit, so when that's why Scorsese called me, they could have picked anybody, right? But on top of that, man, for a long time I've been selling more records than ever, and I got all that power that nobody's ever even had in the business. So it's like everybody said, what a fool, he gives everything away for free and all this shit. But see, I knew one thing about this whole thing. It's the whole system they got to change. They can't stop these guys from foul trading. So even if you come out publicly dissing the stuff, see, I'm not that type of person to be that. I'd rather just be natural. But if you were smart, you would, like if you're one of these whatever guys that has a bitch about peer-to-peer or something, you would just publicly say that it's wrong to please your record company and then put all your shit on peer-to-peer yourself just to get it out there. Otherwise, Sumo ain't gonna pick you. There's a lot of people in front of the line. Now you can't even listen to like Mary Chain or anything on the internet, because the public, it isn't their choice whether the Chameleons or whoever, whether their songs on YouTube. It's some publishing crap deal. And all the bands on Creation, man, you can't even get into those fucking records. They're all locked in Sony. Like, I was able to get the telescopes out of there, but I don't think they would fall for that trick that I pulled twice,
Yeah, the only way, and a lot of the other times, kids putting up on YouTube, and it'll be up there for like a couple of weeks, and then the publishing company will find out and take it down. Same with me. Anton, I recently I was signed to BMG Publishing, which became RCA, which became Universal in the 90s.
Yeah.
Recently, I was looking at a computer on my account, and I realized for 13 years, one of my publishing companies had been going to Universal. And, I contacted Universal. It was a 6-month battle for me to get my money. 6 months. And they acted like they were doing me a favor when they were getting my money for 13 years. And, if I was a big artist making millions of dollars, maybe somebody would have noticed it. But it was...
There's whole essays on this from guys, like, just nobody... There's whole essays from guys who are, like, have went to law school or whatever, that used to be in bands, and just for the shits and giggles, try to pull an audit. Those guys systematically fudge all those records and say, we don't have any records.
Yeah.
It's because it means billions of dollars. Just all the people that can't go through all those hoops or wait them out. Yeah. And Bobby Jameson, man, we got to get him on the show as soon as his single drops of that cover I did. He's the one that brought, Phil sent him over there with Jack Nietzsche to teach the Beatles and the Stones and all those guys about that sound. Even the Vox Fuzz guitars. None of that shit is from the Beatles or the Stones. So, he flew over there to personally oversee, because when the Beatles and the Stones managers hit up Phil Spector for all the goodies, Phil couldn't be bothered. Like, as a power trip, he just sent his lackeys. He said, okay, that's a lot of money. I'll take the money, but I'm sending Jack Nietzsche because I'm not even allowed in America to touch the board. So this guy does it for me or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because it's old school. So those are the guys. They even brought the guitars and shit. But, we got to listen to Bobby Jameson, because he just wrote songs for all those monkeys forever. And him just getting access to his own stuff, he is just dynamite. He's like nitroglycerin about this topic, and it's just, you would not believe like that somebody that had that much to do with everything, with everybody, that they could just get squeezed that hard. That was his job, just to write and have fake names, just nonstop fixing people's records.
It's great when you own it yourself, because then you just like, oh, hey, I want to use your song for this commercial. Okay, let's do the contract ourselves. No record company, no lawyer, no anybody. It's the easiest way that I get things done. These other folks, these kids, these days, I say, well, what's your publishing company? What are you doing? Are you don't sell your publishing, keep it, blah, 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 all this. I go, what do you think? You just sit around and like a check comes in the mail? It's like, you got to find that money.
But also, it's just the advances. People are going, well, I got to live. But, I was just using this. Somebody brought up Democracy Now! Earlier, that program, right? And I said, there's all kinds of examples in reality where, this is the best thing out there doesn't cut it. And a good example is when people used to have gonorrhea like 100 years ago. They'd be drinking mercury going, this is the best treatment out there. It's still, it's totally going to kill you, but not only that, it's going to be really insane on the way to death. But they're like, no, this is the best thing out there. And everybody's like, no, this is the best thing. And it's just like, that's the same thing with like the two-party system or all that crap. It's just they go back and forth. So the same thing is like people are like, I got to make a living. But you ever wonder when these bands get into these fights with the business or whatever, everybody just says fuck it, and they're not even ever interested in even doing it, music or for real anymore. Most people are just crushed when they figure out that their dream is just in the quagmire.
Well, those are the people I always say, like, how many guys have you been in bands with that are probably like married with kids, maybe living in a trailer, maybe
everybody, every drummer that I've ever admired, every drummer I've ever admired sticks it out like 5 years in a really bad band and then sells his drum kit.
And that just, it's always drummers, and that proves my point that when I was fighting with you that you didn't really care about music, you just proved my point that you don't really care about music. Because if you really care about music, no matter what, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. No woman, no, not surfing, not anything else that I enjoy. I just have to do music. I have 4 guitars in my bedroom staring at me all the time, and it's like, I play music. I don't, I'm not trying to make a million.
Me and McGee were talking a few years back about you. That's what he. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to speak for him. He can speak perfectly well for himself. But that's the one thing. He's just like Darren Rademaker, man. He's like, I have so much respect for that guy. He's like in his own league because I wouldn't. McGee started out talking to me, going like, Darren's the only guy that's. This is when you were 43. Darren's the only guy that I even talked to about his music at 43 because it's just a joke to me. And then he rephrased it, like he caught himself right as he said that. He's like, well, Gillespie's in his own business too, and you are too, Anton. But besides that, and then since then, I did an interview with him we interviewed each other kind of just to chat for another magazine in England, and he said that Ian Astbury's in that club too.
He does that. But he's done that. He said that to me about Gillespie and you and me before, like, we're like all like the brothers. And him, and we're like, some are bad brothers, some are good brothers, but it's like, it's funny. He loves Astbury too.
He does. I'm gonna try and write. Ian's gonna maybe be here at the same time my new studio's opened up down the street, and
I might be coming in January because my girlfriend's going there with her boss for an art show. So
you gotta let me know, man. We'll definitely figure something out.
Well, even here, what I did for the last month, Anton, was. I did a residency in a place in downtown where nobody ever plays.
And the smell. Just kidding.
This place, there's this little pub, and each week I had a band that I liked of kids from around here, and I let them play first, and then I'd go to their practice, and then we'd learn a bunch of cover songs, and I teach them some of my songs. So it was just kind of a fun thing that I did every week, and it's like, that was like just something different, like break it off from the echo and the space land
we're just doing that in Berlin, Ollie's been doing it with 8mm for 8 years. Was our anniversary last night. But our whole thing is like, it's two-pronged. Berlin's really weird for having 3.5 million people. There's no suburbs because there was a wall around the west and the east. This was a tank killing ground. They didn't even want the Russians in Berlin. They were like, this place is going to be a battle zone. We don't want to build on it. So the city ends in all directions. So it's a weird situation for people, for the different things that are going on. So we just wanted to make it, for one, because it's an international city, people are coming from all over, that there's a place they can go to find that kind of music. And two, that we can interact with bands from all over as we're sending our bands to like Copenhagen and Switzerland and all that stuff. But also that, we're open to help other people out. Now the problem that we see right now is there's no real baby bands. Every single thing that we want to do requires like some kind of money up front and some chance, and you know how just lame bands are. If you're trying to get them to come from Copenhagen or something, they're going to tell you it could be anything. But So we're like doing everything we can to like have all the gear and everything here and just make stuff happen for people. But we're not even going to deal with any fucking joker agents that are, because everybody's begging me all over to hook them up with shows because the networks aren't there like it was for the Minutemen and everything. It's like I'm the only person the Black Angels asked me to hook them up with England and shit. It's like I'm the only person that has the connections doing it like the old school way. Everybody else is just, it's a package deal. It's some kind of weird situation. Bands can't even get a tour booked because they're all like, who knows about you, whatever. Nobody can advance that kind of money. But as soon as some of these people start getting realistic, realistic about making a leap of faith, like if they're already over here, then, we can slip them on bills and stuff. But we're just trying to grow it to make it a viable option, So we put on shows in different venues and all that stuff and just have something every night of the week for people to do. Just for an excuse to people to congregate, and that's the way they treat it.
Yeah.
Not trying to make money or anything, We're just doing this for community service.
Last year, at exactly this time, Anton, I went to, it was actually my ex-wife that talked, she's just like, get off your ass and let's go do something. I played 5 shows in Paris, played by myself, I played in Sweden.
Very cool.
Went to England, and I just, like, it was able to do it, like, before Tide had never played in Paris, but it was great. This magazine sponsored the shows, and it was super fun. More people probably turned out there than would turn out in LA to see me play by myself. It was so fun, and you just have to have the networks, and that's the kind of thing that I say to kids. It's like, is your band able to, doesn't matter how many records or whatever, but can you to another city and have some people show up?
Well, that's where this TV and all of our stuff comes in. The way we're networking, I was the first person to figure out how to embed this stuff to do the streaming onto Facebook and the whole world. That's never going to make the news, I was high on MDMA and just combined a couple different things together, and then Ustream started going, well, you're kind of using this the way we didn't intend to it, and I was just like, well, welcome to the future, baby, and nobody's going to talk about that because it's just like nobody wants to empower me, but I don't even care. It's not even about me. Like I've been trying to teach people how to do this, and we're figuring out other things we can do with it, But the coolest thing about it is, it's like 24 hours a day. Whenever we turn the machine on, it's like there's people there, and it's all over the world. In our chat room right now, it's like if you do a head call, it's always on all the continents. It's amazing. Oh, yeah. South America, everybody's really into all these bands and learning and stuff. People, it's such the good time right now. But like I said before, I'm talking to all these like guys, the heavy players in the UK, and they're like, we got to get Primal Scream and Charlatans and BGM and a couple bands and just take over one of these festivals that's going nowhere. And my argument is like, let's do it, but here's a problem. The man does not want a bunch of people they don't want to have the biggest 90s Oasis show right now anywhere. They don't want to dedicate the police, the resources, the headache, and that ain't going to happen. It's so weird, but they have raves in Germany with like 1.5 million people just show up randomly.
Yeah.
You're never going to see that ever happen in America. They're going to go, no, but it's just a terrorist target. But just because they don't want to deal with it. And then there's the money thing. People are just like, fuck this. They can't because people in business like to play with other people's money. That's the way it goes, right? Even like corporation has the investors, right? You go public.
It's hilarious. The funny thing about it is, for instance, the other night, I'm not just limited to only liking rock and roll music or whatever you think is rock and roll music. I go through waves. Like this summer, I was driving through the Deep South, and I was just like, my iPod is broken, so I listened. All there was hip hop and country, so I got into hip hop for a while. Let's hear what this new, and they played different stuff. But I noticed, like the other night, there's a TV show, the American Music Awards. Literally, there was not one rock and roll performance on the whole show except for Bon Jovi, which is just the corporate bullshit because they've been around. I'm not saying like whatever, they don't deserve it or whatever, but there's not one. I know you're the same. Like, we looked, for some reason, because they were like-minded, we looked to England, a lot of the bands we like, Telescopes and Primal Scream and even Oasis or whatever. What's the good band from England this year? Who are they? like I'm not talking about like
JLS,
obscure band. There's just
JLS.
Yeah.
JLS is the good band, right?
JLS.
JLS from whatever, from X Factor. Those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And Subo.
Who knows where is like the new like whatever like cool band from England? Like, is rock and roll really dead? Like
it's not even close. It's not even close. They just don't want anything to going down.
Yeah. Nobody wants. But then every commercial is like for Christmas. Every commercial, you'd be surprised. It's like a hipster couple like playing the keyboards to get like a hipster husband and wife, or like Arcade Fire, or just this. Every commercial is geared toward like the hipster in America right now, and it's like, well, if that's the case, then why isn't that music at the top of the charts, and why is like Katy Perry at the top of the charts? It's
complete snow job. Complete snow job.
It's all about money and promotion, but it's like that music, like Katy Perry, it's complete.
No, you know what? But there's so much shady business going on. For a fact, Ando turned me on to Friendster. And because she knew what you guys knew what I was doing with Spark Match and all that shit with social networking before anybody, like using it as an angle. I had an angle on this shit before anybody, because I was online before anybody. Man, nobody was online in '92, just me and the UFO guys.
Yeah, Doe was too, and I wasn't against it. I was like, what are you guys doing? It's a waste of time.
No, but let me finish. Let me finish for 1 second. So then we got hooked into MySpace, and Tom used to play in a band with Dean Taylor, who used to be in my band. So I knew about that. I was the first person to do music, and I was talking to Tom. We turned that whole music thing into happening. Boy, they stopped my counters at 2.5 million for like years ago. You know what I mean? And because I smoked every single fucking idiot that they said they were selling that as like, we'll break your band, and every single record company's like, well, why don't they have 2.5 million hits like Anton? And they didn't really get it. They didn't really get what I set out to do, but they were trying to sell it. Like, look what this guy's doing. He's in touch with all these people, right?
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't go to MySpace music bands all the time or trying to get me, to like listen or something. I won't navigate that mess. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's nice that everybody has a place to go to, but YouTube is just so much easier. You can have a YouTube channel, and then with the streaming stuff, that I'm doing, you can make your own streaming channel and just play your whole fucking stuff. You can make one big long video of all the stuff you wanted to show and just have it looping. So whenever anybody gets around to, you could have a 45-minute video of just like basically an album, right? I do that all the time, like a playlist. Put that link up on Facebook, and in 2 weeks somebody will hit it and share it, and then it's just going to be out there forever because somebody else is going to find it and then put it on their wall. And then you multiply that by VK.com and all the Russian shit, and I'm doing it all over the world, Chinese YouTube and stuff, and it's just bananas, Then the phone calls start coming from China, and they're like, we want you to play. It's just weird.
Yeah. That's well, you're the one thing I always say to people is you're an anomaly because you not only the internet stuff, but just like the whole DIY aspect of it. When we were on tour with you a few years ago, the thing which shocked me one night, I think it was like Portland or something, kids were lining up, even though they could get everything for free, they were lining up and buying every vinyl or every CD and every t-shirt. And
it's nuts.
Loads and merch, because that's the whole point. I don't even realize, I don't even understand the reason to put out a CD anymore. I want a vinyl because, people like us that like
You're
vinyl.
so smart, Darren, because check this out. You know what?
Download only. There's no reason to put out a GD CD.
Yeah. But you know what's really nuts is that's exactly. I just do this vinyl for collectors, but I'm just killing everybody, People are like, oh my God, you just put this Dayglow double record that only has 5 songs, and one of the discs you can't even play. It's 180-gram vinyl. That's the most expensive shit you can do on the planet, and it doesn't even play music. What is he doing? And I'm like, fuck you people, because nobody can believe that I get pissed. Nobody can believe that some of those old records that I did are like as expensive as Joy Division first pressings and shit. People walk into fucking Amoeba in San Francisco and take it from the man. It's not even a couple years old. Before I just repressed it, it pissed me off. That's the only reason why I redid it, because it's like $380 up on the wall.
Yeah, you can't even imagine that. It's like
See, I don't like that stuff. I think it's kind of insulting while I'm still alive.
Well, you go on eBay and like people sell like the summer hits records for like the CD for like $185. Some of the further singles. Like I have some, but I'm not going to sell my own.
Yeah, I don't do that either.
That's silly. But I think that's why like I just want people to put it up for free or reissue. Like I found a bunch of torrents of like further records yesterday, and I was like, good for you, man, because kids want to listen to them, and they're not out there, so why not have it for free? It's fine.
It's not hurting you.
It's not hurting me at all, and it's like it's like goes back to the same old thing. It's like on the deathbed, it doesn't really matter if you're like living in the gutter or living in a mansion. It's not.
Dude, none of these guys, man, Billy Joel, they go to their little secret where they were ripping off all the t-shirt money, and the thing people don't understand about Led Zeppelin is, like, if you put the bid out there, the highest bidder wins for your tour or whatever. But there's all these deals on the other side where people want you to overlook that. And so they'll just give you the difference in cash because they know where they're going to make money off booze or something. It could be anything, selling drugs. You don't even know what their angle is. But what I wanted to say about that is like, yeah, I thought it was just going to say something so important. Must not have been. I know it was important. I'm just like daydreaming. We were talking about further. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, like, Billy Joel goes to his secret safe deposit box, and it's just IOUs from his manager that stole it all. Because they're all crooks. Like, how are you going to, if your business partner's a crook, ripping off anybody and the government, how are you going to trust that guy? Yeah. Also, because he's already said, he's in it for himself.
Always.
But, all those guys, there's so many kickbacks. Even when I went to Japan, they handed me this just massive envelope of money before I left, not the rest of my band or something.
Yeah.
Just because it was like the way they do stuff. I didn't even look at it. I was like at dinner with everybody. And then when I got back to the hotel, I was like, fuck, these guys just gave me like $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
Just to be like weird.
Japan must be insane for you though. They must follow you around everywhere.
I haven't been back since the first time because Jeff Davies and I both pissed the bed and in the Shinjuku Prince Hotel, and I told those guys, and we were explained to. We were there with Super Furries was on the same floor, and Mercury Rev. They had the white people floor. Really weird, so you don't circulate with anybody. But they told us that the law in Japan is a little bit different than where you guys are used to, that if you bring somebody to your room, they just automatically, they see you and they just charge you another hotel room. Doesn't matter. Wow. There's no visiting in your rooms. So if somebody comes up there, they're charged. So like Jeff and Christoph brought like 25 Japanese girls and people to party. Walked in with the entourage. And so when we were checking out, with a creative man, they're not even in business anymore, I don't think. Maybe they are. But they were just like, who's going to pay for these like extra 32 rooms at top dollar, at this 5-star hotel?
That's expensive.
Well, they made, I figured out that, listen, this was like 1998 or whatever, it was, or I can't remember, 99, whatever it was. But they charged $95 US for our first concert, right?
Yeah.
So there was 3,000 paid admissions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do the math.
Yeah, it's a lot.
The money that they paid me, I recouped my publishing deal with TVT just from one concert. I just handed them the money and just said, I don't owe you anything. Start paying me what you owe me for like American Pie and shit. And then that's when we parted ways because they didn't want to hand me $180,000.
Amazing.
Yeah, it worked really funny. Like, wait a minute, Anton just gave him $115,000. Now they turn around, they got to pay him $180,000 and $180,000. See, but then they only gave me one of the $180,000, and then it was all over. And it wasn't like they really gave it to me. It wasn't, I didn't end up with a Porsche. They did give it to me, but there was like I rented the Laurel Canyon place and bought the studio, and there was all kinds of 3 rehab trips for everybody in the band that didn't go. So there was like, that went fast. Well, don't laugh. Those guys are still junkies. Fucking losers.
We don't have any time for that. That's for sure.
I can't, man. I don't even drink anymore, Darren.
Hey, you don't even remember. I only drink. I barely even smoke weed.
You never had a problem with that stuff, though. So
no, I feel like sometimes I don't. motivated me to work a little bit better. Like yesterday, I was at a photo shoot for my friend's band, Pure Instinct, and I was like, they like smoke a lot. I was like, I think I wrote a lot more songs when I was stoned, you know. But it's like I just don't have the tolerance for it. I definitely don't have the tolerance for cocaine.
Yeah.
And it's rampant around here, you know. Girls, like the most normal of girls, will like offer it to you on a Wednesday night in a bar out here, and I was like, hey, you know, all we're gonna do is fight if we do this shit, you know. But I can see this coming down the line. Oh my God, I can see it coming down the line, and I've been through. Well, I like the survivors. Like, you know, I've had two guys that I've been in bands with, OD and Dead, and from heroin, and then. One of the guys, the last guy in the Tide, a friend of mine, and it's through his Mormon upbringing, you know, I don't want to like...
Yeah, I know all about it.
You know all about that, but I don't think Tom would have ever blown his brains out if it wasn't for...
Drugs.
Seminary class and pills.
Yeah. You know what? I read a really interesting article, a research paper.
Yeah.
And it the minute I read it, I knew exactly what they were on about. Supposedly, opiates open up your brain to a level of programming that you can't achieve with even sodium pentothal, supposedly. Yeah. And the Hashishans, you know, the assassins, they fucking knew that thousands of years ago. They got those guys all doped up, and then they told them you're going to heaven with the 72 virgins. So this is so old, you know what I mean? That's their whole thing. That's how old this is.
Yeah.
I never got that because I'm such a weirdo, you know, like I wasn't going to fall for Rush Limbaugh and stuff just because he was on pills too. You know, he's still bullshit entertainment.
It's the whole like 60s and like freedom mentality where like drugs and drugs and drugs and drugs, you know, Rex and I would go on and on about that. And I tried it. Even, you know, I got to the point of talking to my parents about it. But now I kind of like, that dream is just like, you know, like somebody recently was telling me like, oh, you're like do drugs or you're this or you're that, and then they were saying how their boyfriend like is doing a sponsored ayahuasca ceremony, and I was like, well, that's still drugs. It's like, I mean,
yeah, just because, you know, it's a weed or something.
Just because it's a trendy thing.
Yeah, but it's kind of, you know, it's kind of important that people also are in touch with their penile thing. But you know what the problem with that kind of stuff is? With ayahuasca and the DMT and shit? If you're going to be nuts at all, like if you don't even know biologically that you're in a precarious state, like a lot of us, you know, from our genes, from just the eons, you know, some of us we're just like one incident away from losing it, and it's not our fault. Yeah, but if you were ever, there was a possibility that was going to happen, well, it's going to happen right then.
Exactly.
You're really going to go this weird way. But that, I don't have a problem with that stuff. I just don't want to be responsible for other people's troubles. And that's real heavy. Because you know what most people like, when Greg dosed me with DMT, most people, they end up surrendering to that environment when they go there.
Yeah.
Because it's so overwhelming. And Greg just tripped out because I didn't at all. He's like, you're just something else from someplace else. He really did, because I was going to kill him right when I came out of it for dosing me, because I said, I'm such a fragile person. There's no way anybody's ever done that to anybody, you know. I'm going to murder you right now. And him and this girl that was with him just went, hold on, just wait one more minute. You're going to be back into reality. And I was like, I'm going to murder you guys both right now. And then all of a sudden I was just like, right back, you know. And I was very upset with him. But the genie was out of the bottle, so to speak. Long story short, he died choking up on black blood, and I'm still here. So, but
the thing is, like, when kids come to me and say, like, I've never taken acid, I'm scared. I say, well, then don't take it. It's like the Timothy Leary thing, or that even like Kim Valley, you know, don't enter into the trip with any baggage, because if you don't, there's no point in taking it.
Well, all of this stuff just amplifies whatever's going on in your head so much. You know what I mean? It's just like. Clear channel for your brain. But okay, so we've covered drugs and we've covered music and advice for young people. We've got an update on your upcoming The Tide, Darren 4. What
You're the first place. It was actually Ben that came up with that. He goes, just make the cover like Scott 4 and call it Darren 4, and then call it the tie Darren 4. So it's kind of a solo album.
Do you ever talk to Sasha Eisman anymore?
I do. He bought a place out in the desert. I ran into him. I was out there a couple weekends ago seeing the Entrance band play it. And I ran into him in an antique store. So he bought a place out in the desert.
Cool.
He's doing well.
Yeah, well, we're friends on Facebook and all that shit. But I don't really use Facebook for that. I just made another weird profile. Everybody's like, why does he call himself Fjordson? I'm like, well, you try and fucking win Sundance and all that shit and fucking...
I knew it was you.
Yeah, I know. It's like no big deal. I'm banned from Facebook anyways, but then there's like 25 profiles that all say my name from idiots. So I know the government knows it's me, so they can fucking eat my poop. But the thing about it is, we use it for dirty tricks, and me and McGee just crack up, or people like that,
Yeah.
Because it gets so weird. Like I was like commented on one of his pictures or something, and then people that I don't even talk to at all are like trying to have a conversation with me and him, and then I immediately made me think, it's like, do people really only post on people's photos so they could be seen talking to them on this fucking thing?
I'm friends with Alan McGee, yeah.
But it's worse than that. All these people add me all the time that they're like, then all of a sudden, Mark Burgess adds me. We were going to do some fucking interview like this, and then all of a sudden he's like, somebody added him to the group, the little group for this, one of them for this TV show, and then he's like, mate, you're clogging up my fucking mailbox with all your bulletins. And I'm like, hey, I'll solve that right now. I'm just going to delete you, but this place is a fucking graveyard for the human spirit. What do you think you're fucking missing? And if I want to see what your wall looks like, man, if you're telling me that you're missing something from me, then you're just fucking gone. Because there ain't nothing. Besides, like, people like you and me and everybody else, there ain't nothing on fucking Facebook.
I have people that say, why are you on that stupid shit? Why, whatever, and all of a sudden, here's why. Because sometimes it's like 1 in the morning and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, and like Jimmy Hay puts up a YouTube of some song I hadn't heard in like 10 years.
See, people don't understand. People don't understand also. People don't understand the simple thing. It's like when you look at me and Dean Cavanaugh and Alan going off if on some fucking like David Icke something, the wall just starts going banana with music. It's like a totally different experience if it's just your profile with your grandma and your boss or something, and you guys are like, I'm having tacos for lunch.
Like Edwin Collins from Orange Juice is one of my freaking heroes.
Yeah.
We write back and forth. It's an ego boost, but it's still like we write back and forth on Twitter and Facebook all the time.
What a guy, too.
It's like, that guy's my man, He almost died of a brain hemorrhage, So I like to talk to him. It's cool.
And it's cool that he's doing stuff, man. That's, like, once again, very inspiring, of course, right?
Yeah, you read that book. In that book, he talks about, because he can't play guitar anymore. And there's one part in the book that his wife wrote where he walks by his 50 vintage guitars in the studio, and he just stares at them. He goes, I'd give anything to be able to play this again. It'll make you appreciate playing guitar, Like, it's amazing. It's an amazing book.
Yeah, what a guy. I'm friends with him too, not personal friends, right? Yeah. Like I don't bug any of these people if they add me or I add them. It's not like I'm hitting them up. Exactly. And I'm also, this if Ryan Wynn from KCRW is listening, because he's always here too. He's got one of the baby programs there. But I always make fun sometimes, like, I'm not Jack Black with my big old fat ass sitting around a fucking record shop talking to fucking John Cusack all day, about music. Yeah. The only reason we're talking about it is because it has to do with our nature and also some of our perceptions. Like when we're talking about Scott Walker and why, this is like real useful information. We're not telling you have to go out and support the old man, because if you're not into it, then fuck you.
There's something about him, though, that's like, I ride a bike. I still attend college classes. I don't really try to sell. That's a great example of a guy that never sold out. I don't really care for his last few albums. It's not my cup of tea, but I appreciate him for wanting to make something modern because he doesn't want to do what he did in the 60s. I understand what he's trying to do. I just happen to like the old stuff. But that guy, he's total DGAF. He does not give an F. Like he does whatever he wants, and he still seems pretty cool about it. And that's a good model to live on, It doesn't really matter if he has to ride a bike, it's fine.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things, you know. The
Yeah.
the first thing about the reason why you want to support Edwin and his endeavors, man, they win it alone. Not only were those hits, they put that shit out themselves.
Put it
Postcard
out
Records.
themselves. And it's another thing that you learn about the book, Anton, is like it breaks down the government healthcare system in England so hardcore. I mean,
Well, they're from
were
Scotland.
as they say, yeah, but he lived in London. But
Okay, yeah.
what he says is like, you know, his wife writes the book. They made millions. They made $1 million off that "Girl Like You" single. It was, you know, it was an indie single.
Easily.
It was their godsend.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that money, even with that money, they couldn't get good care at times, and it's really interesting.
Yeah,
know?
that's just absolutely amazing.
So the guy that has a brain hemorrhage that's just on, you know, the regular government system over there, you know, it's just like in America, if my girlfriend's pregnant, we're going to have to pay to have that baby, but there's a lot of people here that can get that baby delivered for free, but we can't. I don't know. I just don't understand healthcare in general.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shady shit going on, and the big shame is every place that you would look up to and go like, well, this is a situation that works. See, all these people right now, the plan has been, you know, to mortgage everything. They're either enslaved by the banks, or their plan is to like owe them so much money and then just kill the banks. It can only be one or the other because we can never pay it back, right? So either they're going to go, well, we're going to see what we can get away with and then put these guys out of business and change the game, or it's just the thing now. But when I hear that New Zealand is going to kill public medicine, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Are you guys really going to ignore that? And meanwhile, everybody's willing to rip each other apart for a $155 laptop at Walmart and kill the people, you know?
Yeah.
For some $10 fucking case of Coke or whatever it is. You know, they're literally just tearing each other apart for a 6-pack of Coke at Walmart on Black Friday. You know, some bullshit like that. And that's what they care about.
I know. It's funny that you just don't know what the older you get and the more you just look at things like what is going on. Like, really, would you let your wife get up at 4 a.m. to go to Target and save $20?
Piper Ferguson and her mom were out there. You know what I mean?
Necessary?
Well, they were just getting 2 flat screen TVs, but like either one of those guys could give a rat's ass about saving $100 on a fucking flat screen. But I guess you don't stay rich by fucking not penny pinching and fucking people over. That's for sure. Because if you show me somebody like that has $160 billion or something, they've had it for 10 years, I'll show you a fucking evil motherfucker. Because there ain't no way to hold on to your money if you're honest. That's a fucking fact, because I know all about it.
When we were recording in our old band in the 80s in Wales, we'd get on the train to go to London, and we'd be in like, you know, third class, and Robert Plant would be there. It's like, man, he can afford first class, but he doesn't spend the money on first class. You know what I mean?
He probably is not going to get laid in first class. He'll get sued if he gets laid in first class.
And he's known as Percy, man. It's like those guys with a lot of money, they like to hold on to it.
It's something. It's not. It definitely isn't about just money. It's about something else.
Yeah. Well, that always goes back to the theories. Like, everybody does everything. The car you drive, the reason that you play guitar or whatever is only to get laid. And it's like, well, then if you're, you know, when I used to work in the restaurant, there, you know, some young lawyer would be snotty to me, you know, and you know, call me over as the manager and give me a hard time, and I would just walk away. In my head, I would just say, my life is 10 times more fun than yours. I don't care how much money you have.
Well, we know that, man, because you're surfing and you're out playing and doing a lot of things that you wanted to do in your life. See, you got to do things that I didn't even get to do.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's getting hard to maintain, but it's still.
Because nobody even pretended it to ever like me. For whatever reason.
Yeah, you're doing better than me, man. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you in January.
Oh yeah. I can't wait, man. And you've got friends over here for sure. And plus the studio will be up and running if it's not, you know. Just plan to map out a couple hours where you can take an adventure, because I'll take you to the funk house to my friend's studio. It's nuts. Make something up. I got everything here. So it's,
all we need.
I didn't try and like grab a bunch of stuff from Rob's or whatever. I was like, fuck it, let's have a studio and gear in Europe too.
Killer.
You know? But only awesome. I got a different plan than Rob.
Yeah. Rob's still always busy though. Rob's doing
I know,
all
but
right.
I understand how the business works, and Rob doesn't quite yet. So I had to make that two separate things, like the entity that's doing something, and the other entity that we don't know what they're doing.
That's what happens.
It's okay. I wish it didn't, but it's fine. I got no beefs with Rob. What I was going to ask you now, before we tie this up, I've already queued up Rip It Up for after this, but
Awesome.
for when we say goodbye. But what I was going to ask you now, since we both know him so well, is what's your take on Ariel Pink?
I think
I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, put me on the spot because I'll tell you what, I'm pretty amazed. I had pretty much all but given up on even caring about what he did until that, and then that new album came out, and I thought it was pretty good. And then live, like they took it serious. There's a couple bands. Holy shit, his other band is Fishback.
Yeah.
I just saw them in San Francisco for years. That Matt's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I know.
Like, 50% of the show is him fiddling with guitar pedals or some crap. This
Right.
time, he's got Joan Paul's playing in the band with him now,
Huh?
and he's got another guy, Jimmy Abrams. They were amazing. They had like this big, tall bass player and a great drummer, and they played at the San Francisco Art Institute, and they played a half-hour set, one song into the next, amazing. Same with Ariel. The last few times I've seen him live, it's been great because I've seen him other times where he's in a pissy mood and walks off the stage. It's like no one wants to see that. You know, it's kind of fun because people talk about it, and we've all been there. But it's like he's been good. I think they're playing.
Well, I didn't think he was going to get a second chance after he went over to fucking France or something. You know, with all this buzz and whipped out a 4-track and couldn't even pull that off. It's like, dude, what are you fucking even thinking?
Yeah.
You know, way to blow it. But then I didn't realize that he already had the deal for him to get Sebesky and everybody involved coming up.
Yeah.
Like that was in the works. Because I basically said, well, you just blew your only opportunity there because you're just, for whatever reason. But I was wrong because they got another chance. And he stepped up to the plate more.
It's a matter of it's like sort of a matter of pride because it's the same with that band Girls from San Francisco who I really like, and you know the first time I met them they were just like, oh.
Yeah, but we spent so much time helping all those guys out. That's why I wanted to ask.
They give respect. Yeah, they give respect. And same with Ariel and whatever, because it's carrying on the tradition. And because of Girls and Ariel, you know how I played 5 shows in Paris last November? Because those guys talk about me and had talked about me.
Well, good. Then I won't. I'll be sure to be supportive of those guys in their endeavors.
People that come from the same thing. There's other people that rip you off. You know,
Devan de Bernhardt. You know what? Devan de Bernhardt's never been pleased that I get more people at my shows than he does. You know, you would think that he would be like, "This is so cool. We're playing at Coachella with and Anton's band's playing all these guys, and we get to see Public Enemy and all that shit." But those guys are like, "Why are these guys even here?" I'm like, "Dude, you don't even really sell out your shows. Your record company does. So shut up." You know, we actually sell out our shows everywhere in the world. We don't even give a guest list.
It's an example in this side of town I don't want to talk about it because I'm even like friends with some guys in corporate bands because I know that they like good music in general, but they play that game like, you know, you live on my side of town or you live on the west side of town. And
yeah, but none of these dickheads understand there's never going to be a record store that just only has their dickhead band in it. It's an environment, man. You got to be kind of supportive. You even got to go, well, you too, man. They're out there turning the globe around, I guess. I can't stand them. And I think the Zeropa, all that, oh, we're just going to buy every single Killer Light show in the world and be just some crazy thing is all weak. But at the end of the day, you know, they made some people happy, I guess. Fuck them. That's the entertainment business. It isn't art that I respect. But that's okay.
It's easy to make fun. It always has been a joke because of the Bunnyman days. It's easy to make fun of you too, and I think they are horrible and everything. But man, the first album, there's some good songs on that one. There's a good songs on. Yeah, the first 3 albums are a few good
Boy
songs on.
and War and all that shit.
It's not like they're the worst band in the world, but it's just the way that they went about it, and it's like the whole like whatever. Like I didn't like Bruce Springsteen forever, and like.
See, you name dropped him a couple times. What is it that flip the?
I had this chick from Sweden, like when I was playing there last year. She was DJing at my show at Pustervik, in.
Was it the Suicide cover that tipped it?
Well, that was amazing, yeah. But she's the one that turned me on to that. But I used to listen to him like before punk came along, like junior high. I was really into him.
Okay, the reason why I ask you because you know the Boardwalk Empire. Me being on there is all little Stevie's doing. I'm sure.
Oh.
That and
Yeah.
my manager. It has nothing to do with Martin Scorsese, I'm sure.
They put out this reissue of Darkness on the Edge of Town, and they were on the Conan or Jimmy Fallon show, and they had an hour interview with them.
Jimmy Fallon hates me because he dated Tara after me. So I've got no chance in hell. It doesn't matter if I'm bigger than Led Zeppelin. I'll never be on his show.
Amazing. So anyway, this girl in Sweden. I meet her 5 minutes of my show, and she's playing like all this classic American rock. And then earlier this springtime, she came out. She wrote me on Facebook, said, "Hey, I want to come to California. Can I stay with you?" And then we drove all around California, and she, was mostly playing Bruce Springsteen. And I was like, "Wow, this is good. I kind of forgot about this." So I've been kind of like going back, and then I was saying, "Well, let's see him nowadays." And he was on this Jimmy Fallon show the other night talking about the Darkness reissue, which is my favorite album by him. And it's just like there's something to be said for him. It's like it's all East Coast greasy and whatever, but he does like he does sort of like want to carry on the tradition of rock and roll, also still trying to bring something new to it. And the Suicide cover, it's freaking amazing. It's like, who would have thought that?
Well, that's those guys' social security for sure.
Yeah. We'll probably be doing one of your songs soon.
I don't know, man. All those people. Nobody wants to empower me because the question the old man always has is like, where's his headed?
Yeah.
But it changes a little bit. But I'm not going to be one of those guys like Iggy that says, well, thank you very much when they say, like, you've arrived now, we can talk about you or something. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says thank you. Yeah. I'm going to be one of those guys that's too busy for it. Because, I'm sorry, and the thank you thing just doesn't cut it for me. I'm more interested in what people do, and I'm so for the reason why I'm interested in art is because of the humanities, and these people, I just can't identify with them even if they are late. You want to hear something funny though? I have a question for you. This might be a good one. I actually put out a single maybe at 85 or 86. So like in 3 years or so, I am eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And having this like 5-year contract or whatever, we don't know it's going to go that far with Boardwalk Empire. We don't know what the story is with it. I hooked it up so it's like on a weekly basis. I won't accept any lump sum from anybody. Yeah. The banks are too shady. You can't save money that with the tax and all this shit and the interest rate. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose money just by keeping it in the bank right now, for sure. Yeah. So it's better as just a paycheck, as it comes. Well, anyways, that's the only thing I can, with the DVD deals and all that shit and the way the Sopranos went, same people, it's the same thing as if I had a number one or two number ones in America, easy. Same exact thing, maybe more we don't know how it's going to work out. I don't want to get in trouble. But we don't know. But anyways, what I'm saying is like, so I'm eligible in like 3 years, and that's never going to happen. I've played there. They asked me to play, Yeah. But I think it's funny because we'll probably start writing it in just for the hell of it, just to bug them.
I saw one online for the church. The people want to vote for the church.
I interviewed Steve too. I interviewed Steve a couple times on here. He's great.
I mean, that's the thing is there's certain touch tones. Just like when you ask McGee about the church, I don't think he probably even knows what they are. It's funny, we have these touch tones in California or America of there's only a few of us that pretty much any band that you can bring up, we're probably going to know. Yeah.
Or even we could probably sing or play some of their songs.
The thing about going back to McGee is he had such a good run with this thing. I don't understand his hate for Kevin Shields. I know it almost bankrupted us.
No, but listen. Let me break something down to you. You can't listen to McGee on this topic or anybody and it's the same thing with the banks right now. They're trying to screw all the workers and their pensions over this. The government bailing them out and all this shit. Yeah. McGee had the purse strings. It was McGee's decision to invest money that he almost couldn't afford to do. Has nothing to do with a risky investment. See, but you try and turn it around and say, well, this guy fucked up and it's his fault. McGee was the boss. Yeah. So the buck stops with him. So fuck what he says about Kevin Shields because Kevin Shields is being a dreamer just like he always was. And Kevin saw all this stuff coming down. See, at the same time, you got to remember everybody there was just having a party. This is before McGee had to get out of that party game.
I
So
tried to get in the party game, and that's when I had the most fun with them, honestly. You know, like we had.
I like him both ways. I mean, I don't have a problem.
But the one thing is that makes me so mad about it is out of all the records that Alan's been involved with, Loveless probably is the most innovative and the one that's the most original that will go down in history.
No, Joe Foster had to angle with all that shit. Psycho Candy, you know, come on.
People love that too, you know, like everybody.
No, but I mean, just like that whole thing that Psycho Candy does on the first listings, you listen to it and you go, what is this shit? Take it off. And then the minute you walk away, you're like, let me hear that again.
Yeah, Joe Foster's also genius.
So, but he brought a lot of that stuff in there. And where those guys behind the scenes really kind of excelled in a funny way, but it's screwy for people that are in bands. But, you know, they just took... See, it's Steven. Laurie had all these ideas about how to approach it, and he was the one that stepped away from thinking Sonic Youth and Jay Mascis were hot shit, and said let's incorporate this other stuff. And they said, well, this probably isn't going to go down. Your name's really ambiguous and all this shit. We'll just give it to Ride. Do your same sound that you're working on, you know. And here's these guys that everybody wants to fuck, and that happened a lot of times where they took the innovation from one of the guys and put it with the guys, the no-brainer guys, or the cred from the other guy, you know? There's a lot of different things that happen there, you know? But McGee just swears up and down that he never knew that Oasis was going to take like that.
He played it for me at the Mondrian Hotel one time, Anton. He played the demos of Oasis for me one time, and me and my brother were literally laughed and said, this sounds like a local band from Wisconsin.
Pub rock, right?
We thought it was horrible. And then when I was over in England the next year, I never even bothered with the first album. I thought it was crap. Then over in England next year, went by Creation Offices. He gave me an advance of What's the Story, Morning Glory. And then I got back to the States and I got it. I finally, he just got it faster. I didn't understand it at first at all.
We understood it, but, you know, those guys, we played with them and blew them away 2 days right in a row, their first 2 shows in America. And their attitude about the whole attitude about it just wrecked it, because we were all fully prepared to say, this is great. We're loving this. And just the way that they wore towards us, that was like, you know what? You can't just come over here and tell everybody to fuck off, because you just aren't. We'll kill you. You guys don't even know how to shoot guns, man. We'll just fucking eat you punks. So they never made it over here, because we stopped talking about them. We said we were dickheads. So they only just got... Oasis really isn't even as popular, you know what I mean? They're like on the level of fucking the Quarter After or something in America. Just kidding. They're a little bit more than that, but not much. They never played more than 8 shows. Fuck, man. It takes me 2 months playing every day to fucking tour North America.
Yeah, exactly. But that's another thing they talk about. Playing, like, we played on tour with you. Oh, it sounds, let's jam together. Whatever. Getting along. When you play with certain bands over the Fransford and certain bands that you open for, and they think that they're so great, and they're just shit. And it's like, I love that.
Yeah, it's like life is settling that score of your little getting all hubris or whatever. You know, it's like life will make your guitar amp just smash. You know, break, your tubes burn out just right when you need them.
Exactly.
But, you know, I've been talking to, it's really snowing now. I've been talking to Noel for over a year, kind of through his people, about doing something.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's got resources coming out of his yin yang. People just give him money if they want you just to go record with me, you know what I mean? They just want to see what that would be like or whatever. And for whatever reason, the guy can't find the time. Or maybe he can. Who knows what's going on? I'm a loose cannon anyways. I say some wacky shit. But the whole deal is like, that kind of shit really trips me out.
It's it's without doubt. It's without doubt. You listen to a couple songs on their last few albums, and you know for a fact that you've been listening to Brian Jones.
Well, of course, Andy's our mate. You know what I mean? So it's like, Andy's great.
Have you listened to BDI?
You know what? I told Alan that I would give him. Well, you're better than me, but here, I got a big problem with all that shit, man. That ain't the way to say goodbye, man. You know, I don't care if they pissed on each other's wives or whatever, you know, whatever it was, right? All the little bitchy shit.
Mm-hmm.
It just was so bad for them to do it that way.
Yeah.
You know? Because they could have just walked off and left it a big question mark. And then just to come out with that attitude again, because I could just mop up the floor backwards with those guys. I could pull anybody out of a club and just go, let's make a single that's better than those guys right now, and just do it. And
they'll probably do something again, you know.
that's a real big deal. But the thing is that, you know, what it just shows you is that, hey, you know, at the end of the day, like, Oasis's best song is a Chemical Brothers song. So, but then, you know, I found a new respect for Wonderwall when I saw that Mike Connors do it. Then I was like, oh, this is just totally pop, so I see it now.
Well, do you know that McGee's the one? You know that Wonderwall is just Bonnie and Clyde by Serge Gainsbourg.
I bet.
Because you know they rip off he loved to rip off everything, and that's not a diss because people rip shit off.
Sure, that's what we do.
Listen to frickin' Bonnie and Clyde. Listen to the guitar part on Bonnie.
Yeah,
I've got that part is Wonderwall.
Yeah, I've got that kind of mind. Just when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, I just put that silhouettes match up completely.
It matches up, and it's like that's cool. That's still brilliant, you know, because it's like you made a worldwide hit by copying another song that no one knows, or not anyone knows anymore, except for like the hipster guy or whatever. But it's, yeah, I love them, and I love, like, it's like, I hated Suede. I thought they were the worst bands ever. I had girlfriends that liked them. I'd say, turn that
Metal Mickey.
Now they're one of my favorite bands.
Metal Mickey.
Yeah.
That's a passionate song, but those guys have shit brains too. All those English bands, once those guys break up, man, that's the end of the band. Once they stop fucking each other or whatever, it's over.
Well, Bernard Butler's, like, producing everybody, and he's, like, you know, one of my favorite guitar players in Britpop or whatever, and he wrote me, or he said in Mojo, like, he picked his top 5 and it was a tied record, and he would still write me. It's like, every time I go on vacation, I listen to your second album, and I was like, I would never think that this guy, like, would like, you know, what I do.
No, you know, because he's fully into that, like, 5 years Bowie, like the honky dory stuff. So he's into, those guys were into musicality the whole time. Once again, listening to Metal Mickey, it's not your average approach to, like, T-Rex or something.
Exactly.
You know, they were digging a little bit different, but they seemed like a more 70s obsessed Smiths to me.
Yeah. Well, there's a progression. It goes like Smiths, Suede, and then I guess Oasis kind of.
Bell and Sebastian.
Bell and Sebastian. No, that's the same thing with Bell and Sebastian. They were like seemed to be, you know, Alan and I argue about Bell and Sebastian a lot, and I'm these days I kind of take Alan's stance on it. I really like that he just says they're not rock and roll, which they aren't, but they kind of.
They're like A&M records, though. So what?
But I like it was the same thing, like, you know, in Britpop. I mean, just like with twee pop back in the '90s or whatever. All these things, Bell and Sebastian were the kings of twee pop, and like. All those kids that like that music, a lot of them didn't like our music, even though we had parts of twee pop in it.
Right.
Because we were rock and roll.
But those guys don't. But you have to understand that, man. 1 in 10,000 people can actually hear music on the level of like the harmony of the spheres.
Yeah.
Everybody else it's like Madonna City, man. That's just everything's a marching beat, like a virgin. Most of the dance stuff isn't even music. It's beats and blips. See, music has to have this tone out, this geometric tonal interaction. Even if it's minimalism, it's with one main note with a deviant thing. It's still to be music. It has to have like this fifth or this third or this seventh thing going on. Else, it's not even music. It's just noise. So that's why I called one of my records "Bravery, Repetition, and Noise," even though it was music. To turn around, if A Place to Bury Strangers named their record "Place to Bravery, Repetition, Noise," that's a total description of what they're doing because it's not music. It's just beats with various levels of distortion. There's no melodies, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just dynamic changes, which people like it, and it's cool. They're my friends.
Like there's like a gangster house behind me, and every morning the teenage daughters like crank up hip hop, like usually vile hip hop. And it rattles my windows. There's really nothing I can do about it. it's funny because I noticed like the notes that rattle the windows, like they're not even, it's not even like 4/4 times. It's like
Yeah.
and it's like, but somehow that's what they want to hear every morning at 10. They're not listening to the lyrics probably. They're not listening. It's just what they want to hear every morning at 10 o'clock.
It's the battle drums. It's just like that. Yeah, it's just like that guy in the Viking boat beating that drum, man.
Yeah.
Helping everybody row.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
All right.
Melody interests me, you know. That's about it.
Well, we know about your group. So here's a question. I don't want to get personal though, but this is just like on a friendly level, right?
Yes.
How's your brother?
He's great.
Cool.
He's still recording, doing stuff. I don't know what's up with Beach and Sparks, but you know how Rick and our band, one of the other American people on Create, Velvet Crush.
Yeah.
So one of the other guys in this band, Jeff Underhill, Brent works at an IKEA in Tampa, Florida.
Huh.
The guy that manages the restaurant used to be in Velvet Crush as well, so they have a band together called Cosmic Gospel Hour.
Cool.
And I played with this summer. They played a couple shows. You know, Brent and I played an acoustic show. Like we didn't even practice. It's a couple hundred people. It was fun. You know?
Does Beachwood have a record coming in the works or something?
Well, Sub Pop's giving them money. Brent has a little studio in his garage. Like when I record at Rob's, we just sort of do it over the internet so Brent can play bass.
Cool.
And another great technology thing. And then I don't know what the deal is. It's maybe Chris, because like Farmer Dave, you know, Aaron plays in Aerial Pink.
Right.
Drummer. Farmer Dave and I hang out more than ever. He gets along with my.
He's not in Interpol anymore?
He quit Interpol. He does his own thing. It's
cool.
Great. He's doing some. He has a little studio in Venice in his house. It's cool. And for the new album, I'm supposed to do some stuff with him and maybe Ariel together. We're going to do a couple weird things.
Cool.
For my album. And Dave's great. You know, he's super into surfing and just sort of playing. He sidemans with whoever, you know, does a session here or there with, you know, Will Oldham or whoever has him. You know.
Cool.
So, and then I think it's Chris is the one that just sort of lives in the woods and does, you know, him and his wife have their own like
world
thing going. So I wish that they would make another record because, you know, all their peers went on to make a lot of money on Sub Pop and they were kind of the, you know, they get a little bit of credit, but they should make like a Birds reunion album at least, you know.
Just know all that whole I quit stuff is pointless when you're a guy like Chris. It's like, what are you even doing, man?
People like your shit, man.
Well, it's even beyond that. It's like, where's the mystery on that? Being a quitter like everybody else. You could just like say I'm busy, you know? Yeah. And then pick it up if you want or don't.
There's two ways to look at it. Like people are on tour, like, you know, after Anne, you know, when we were married, we'd go on tour or weren't even married, we'd go on tour in the Tide and she had a great time. And then when she went with Gwen Stefani, where people are carrying your luggage and there's hair and makeup, but you don't have to set up any of your own stuff.
Yeah.
And staying in $500 a night hotel rooms, being on tour in a band's not that fun anymore. So
that's true. Well, it depends on the trip, man. You know what? It's a different experience. It's a different experience if you're like BMRC and you think you're big shit because you're in a tour bus, but really you're never making a penny off any record you ever sell because they're just buying your tour bus with it. You know. Or something, you know, paying for that, all those incidentals. What I'm saying, it's a totally different experience, you know. It's because sometimes I take a van, man. If I fly into Sydney, I mean, when I tour, I play 10 shows with over 2,500 people, sold out. I play all the territories in Australia, you know. We're nuts there, as big as anybody else you can name. Play the same place as Bob Dylan or anybody else, right? And then but, you know, we take a van from the airport to the hotel.
Yeah, well, Tom and I, God rest
we have a bus, too.
We'd be in, like, Montreal on, like, Tuesday night or something, and there's, like, you know, 60 people at the show or whatever, and we'd say, so what, man? This is the gypsy life that you want to lead. You just going around, trying in a band, telling your story. Like, Teenage Fan Club just played here, Anton. They loaded their own gear. Still, they're my age, you know. Like, there's like they know they'll save money. You know what? I've already
lugged all those fucking Hammonds, man. Rob, you're on your own.
You guys got more, yeah. But it's like if you got two guitars, bass, and drums, you want to save a couple $1,000 a week,
and be buff.
You got a mortgage payment back in in Scotland, maybe you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's
But
cool.
I still, like that whole thing. I love the guys that have tour bus, like, when you see a tour bus pull outside Spaceland or something.
It's a joke.
Are you kidding me? If it says Target on the side, then more power to you, or whatever. But it's like, it's silly.
I know how much those. We drive those things over the Alps all the time, man. I know exactly how much those cost because it's my company, And I'm like, I don't mind because there's no way to have that many people.
You guys have many people for a van.
Plus, we got the best guy, Paul, man, that we hired. He's like special forces, like type guy, whatever. And you can just go to sleep and you wake up and there's no problem. Because I read about Weezer just ending up in a ditch or whatever, busting his ass into a ditch on the bus. We don't deal with people like that. We just deal with the best guys. Get our buses from Germany, the best bus. It's just like, because they're just like everything's so shady. So it's just like my guy doesn't party no matter what until he's not driving, and it's just no chances. But
amazing.
All right, Darren. But we'll have to talk again when you get a video camera.
Hit me up. Yeah, I'll hit you up one time when I'm at my lady's place because she has everything. My Mac's literally like 6 years old. There's no camera on it.
But it's all good because it's been fascinating. People. I mean, I'll check the chat room. I've just been looking at your picture and my face.
Somebody's already written on my Facebook. I'm listening. So yeah.
And I'll just if this recording of it, if the file comes out any length, of us talking, I'll just share it. But when it started to cut out, if that messed it up, then I won't. So
okay.
But it'll be right on your page in a minute.
Yeah.
But
I'll do it again.
I'm not going to. Wait a second. I'm not going to include the Orange Juice song because these kind of companies, they don't hire people to check with people's publishing. There's a doubt, they just block you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you know how much money it would be if you were like going, this guy's just playing MP4s or whatever on his show and he's not paying royalties or something. They don't even ask questions. See what I'm saying? They don't go researching everybody going, okay, let me see the piece of paper that your buddy Darren said you can play this further track from YouTube. You know what I'm saying? They don't.
Yeah.
They just ban you immediately. So otherwise, and then you're making it easy for them because they don't even have 24-hour. They'll just check your shit once you save it on YouTube or something. They have to look at, especially if it's private. It's like when you do a private thing on any of these mediums, they have to check to make sure it's not a snuff film or something.
Yeah.
So, but the minute they see the Orange Juice on a saved file, they'll just be like, oh, we don't even want to deal with this guy. So you'll just have to trust me that I'm going to play it, or you could hear, like, we'll say goodbye, and then I'll start it and say goodbye so you can hear it.
All right, rip it up. Thanks, Anton. Nice to talk to you.
No problem. Let me see. Let me find my thing. Okay, well, I'm moving a little bit slow. I'm going to add a camera shot right here of just me. Okay, there's just me. Let me just do this one thing.